much for joining me. I'm going to bring them right out so we can get started. Please help me welcome writer-director Mary Bronstein and star Rose Byrne. Thank you both for doing this. I saw this film a long time ago and thought about it, I think, every day for like a week because it really sticks with you, which I'm sure you all will experience as well. Mary, I thought we could start with where the story came from and what were the sort of personal ties to it for you.
Yeah, well, this movie started from a very personal place for me. When my daughter is 15 now and she's fine and everything like that, when she was 7 years old, she became very ill. And we needed to go, we're New Yorkers, and we needed to go from New York to San Diego to get the specific treatment that she needed. And my husband stayed back in New York for work. And so the two of us lived as really weird, demented roommates in a really shitty hotel, in a tiny room. And you know, I didn't do the things that Linda does in the film, but I did need some sort of escape. And for me, it took the form of the lights would go out at 8 p.m. My daughter would go to sleep. I'd be in a dark, pitch black hotel room, and I would go into the bathroom and shut the door and turn the light on. Horrible, you know, cheap motel room overhead lighting, drink cheap wine, scarf Jack in the Box and candy, and that was my escape. And it's from that place, literally, that I started writing the script, but emotionally, I was going through an existential crisis. I felt this feeling like I was disappearing into the task of getting my daughter better so that we could get out of here and go back to New York. And then I realized that I was feeling this dread, and it was like a terror. And it wasn't about the situation I was in. It was about, yeah, she is going to get better, and we are going to go back to New York, and then what? Then what? What will I do, and who will, what? And it was very overwhelming, and that's the emotional center. That's the existential terror center of the film, and where I started from.
And to pull this off, you would need an incredibly talented actress.
Ooh,
First connect with Rose, and I'm sorry, I'm going to make this super awkward for you, Rose, for a minute. What was it about her?
Let's talk about her in front of her. Rose was always the number one person that I wanted to do this. And there's a couple reasons. It's going to get real awkward. Get ready, get ready.
Yes.
Number one, she's one of the best working actors that we have alive today. You all just saw the film. The film employs humor in a way that allows this film to take you further than I think that it would take you if that humor wasn't there. And I employ it in a way to allow like little valve releases of tension so that we can go further. And so I knew that I needed an actor who had like an intuitive knowledge of comedy and comedy timing and the subtleties of comedy, but that also had the chops to do this very, very difficult, physical, emotionally raw and vulnerable performance. Now that list is very small, very small, and Rose is that person. And then the other thing was that I knew that I needed somebody who was beloved. And Rose is. Anytime I said like who's playing, being in your film, and I said Rose Byrne. I love Rose Byrne. It was the universal reaction. And again, even if it's at a subconscious level, I'm using that too, because it's somebody. I needed somebody who the audience has a goodwill towards, so that when she's doing some things that are difficult to watch and that are objectively wrong and that are or ambiguous, that there's a kindness built in towards the character.
Okay, Rose, so you get this script, and what do you anticipate? What are your first feelings? Is it intimidation, excitement? What did you sort of first feel about it?
I mean, the script was like fire. It was like this like hot thing in that just read. I devoured it, and there was such gorgeous symmetry in the script, and it felt already so alive and so on the page, and it really is just really like what you saw. You should read the screenplay. It was just extraordinary, and it's off that screenplay that Mary got this made. This is a hard movie to get made. This is about a woman having a crisis. This is a true piece of art, and she made it. She got this made. That is like no small feat. And as an actor, I mean, an opportunity, what a gift to see, oh my God, like in the terror of like, I cannot fuck this up. Like, oh my God. And it was like from day one, just like my adrenaline was like, okay, wow, and my obsession was who was this character before the crisis? Who was she before? Because you don't learn anything. The film is not spoon-feeding you any information. You are dropped in, as Mary puts it beautifully, like a marble into this, swirling kind of chaos and a nightmare, and in many ways, and that was my job, right? Is to do all that, and I don't want to bore you with all the homework. I mean, that's not that interesting, but like for me, of course, so rich and wonderful what we did together behind the scenes and so on. So yeah, that was my entry point.
I'm not going to make you explain all the homework because it is an.
I can talk about the homework, but I'm like, I don't know.
Because it is an acting audience. I'm curious, what was most helpful in the preparation?
It was like preparing for a play. We had 5 or 6 weeks together, just sat at Mary's kitchen table, and we just talked. We had the script in front of us, and we were like, Mary was like, let's just go through every page, every piece of dialogue, every beat, and we're really candid with each other. We'd go off topic, we would come back, we would talk about this, and I had endless questions and curiosity, and Mary was so candid with me and such an open book. But without that, I would have felt untethered, but we had this incredible time together because it's an ambitious film. There's wildly ambitious sequences in this movie. It was made in 27 days. It's not a big budget. It's like everything's practical. There's really no CGI, is there? I mean, very little. It's like
it's 99.99% practical. The only times that CGI are employed are to like clean up a couple things, or when the daughter's hole is closing. And I tried and I tried and I tried to do that practically, and it just wouldn't work. And so I finally had to employ CGI. I'm not against CGI, but I set out to very purposefully make a practical movie. It was important to me, and all the ideas that I had, like you're saying, that were ambitious. I wanted to think about them. Limitations are the mother of invention, the mother of creativity. If you can create anything, with a computer, what does anything mean then? And most of the history of film has been made without computers. And so I wanted to think, well, how would this have been done, in the 80s or the 70s? Or how would this have been done, before we had these other tools? And that's how I arrive at things such as the hamster puppets. And a lot of the ways that I'm making the film. I'm not even using, talk about acting, I'm not even using zoom lenses. So that when you're seeing those close-ups, that's how close the camera is to Rose's face. And she is turning in that performance while there's a piece of machinery in her face.
So on the first day, the camera got closer and closer and closer. And I was like, are you really going to get that close? hear the camera going. You know, so as you can imagine, right? You're like, right, okay, I have to recalibrate.
Yeah, because you think about, you know that we're doing it on film, you think about it, but until you're right there, and you know, the film camera is such a wonderful thing because it's such an uncomplicated machine, and it's really just the same as a snapshot camera, but it's taking a certain number of, it's taking 24 pictures, you know, at a time instead of just one. And so it's like, you know it and you talk about it and whatever, but you're right, on the first day when it's there, and you're like, I can hear myself being photographed. Literally, I was just astounded that you could do what you did with the technical things that I wanted it to be.
It's a lot of fun. That's good.
Is it the sort of thing where you got used to having cameras in your face after a while?
Yeah, I absolutely. Like, I think it's an interesting, it is a technical endeavor, absolutely, as you know, on film. Like, it is this experience of the technical, you know, side of things that you have to learn and takes time and all that stuff. You know, I had done this show called Physical, and the camera work, I had to look always, I had to look at the lens. I never was looking at the other actor, but that was an interesting experiment, again, with performance, and I love that stuff. I mean, I have been doing this a long time. You know, one of my earliest jobs was on a soap opera in Australia, and that was incredible training because you were just in front of that camera, you know, 100 pages a week. You know, I don't know if there's any Australians in the crowd, but it was. We have different soap operas. They're only half an hour long, and it's a sort of a different format to the American soap operas, but it's great training. It's great technical training. You learn to hit your mark. You learn all your lines. It's a fast turnover. You understand the heads of department. Like it's incredible training. So, you know, but this was, you know, I definitely got to know the camera department very well on this movie.
Obviously, as you're saying, it's hard to watch her do some of these action choices that she makes, but what did you relate to about her in general?
I mean, the film covers so many things, and it's so brilliant. I think the film as a viewer, because it employs many different genres, right? It's genreless in many ways because it's an element of horror tropes in there. There's elements of the great tradition of women in crises and these sorts of things. But of course, as a parent, I related. But what I think is so successful with the film is that, as Mary put it so beautifully, at this point she's not even a parent, she's a caretaker. And everyone's been a caretaker at some point, whether it's to a parent or a friend or a spouse or an animal or whoever, but that feeling of drowning within that and losing the sense of role of being a mother. But it's a tightrope, you know, and people are uncomfortable when mothers have feelings that are not really allowed. There's a lot of shame around that, and this film is so radical because it really asks you to challenge those feelings, and it's kind of punk rock, so I'm really proud of it.
What was it like during the shoot? Because it's so intense, is Linda the kind of character you could shake off at the end of the day and go drink it up?
I mean, I'd never want to bring my work home. I have 2 kids that couldn't care less if I've had a long day or what I'm doing, you know. It's the most grounding reality, you know. I love that. But yeah, we were just on this tightrope. We were on a high wire act doing this film, and we were in complete lockstep. Mary and I, she was so protective of the performance and of me. You know, you're doing an independent film. There's many crises every day. If something's broken, this doesn't work, this person's late, we can't reach the phone. You know, there's a million things that happen, and I felt very protected the whole time.
I believe that as a filmmaker, for me, I come to filmmaking through theater, through performance, through reverence for performance and everything that goes into it. I think that on a film set, the most important thing on a film set is the actor. If not but for the actor, what do you have? You can have the best production design, you can have the biggest budget, you can have the best costumes, you can have this, you can have that. If you have a shit performance, you have a shit movie. And you can make a great movie with great actors with none of that in a black box, right? But in order to do that, you have to, as a filmmaker, put the time into it. And as Rose said, we work together that way, and I worked that way with the other principal actors as well. The idea that an actor would show up on a set and just show up on a set and just like do the lines boggles my mind. And the audience can sniff that out. Because what Rose did was take an idea of a character named Linda from a page and make her into a full human being that has a life before the story and after the story that we don't even need to talk about because it's so full-bodied, and all the work is in there. So like on a movie set, like she's saying, it is so stressful, especially when you're working in this way, that you can't, if you're making very difficult material, your set has to be that much more fun and that much more pleasant, because the material that you're working on and the performances that you're asking your actors to do are so difficult. And so I felt like that was a very important part of my job, was to set a tone where my actors none of that reaches them, but it's pleasant, it's fun, it's like you insert it when you want to, and it's positive, and it's a nice work environment. It's very important.
Since they've seen the film, I wanted to talk about the ending because it is such a knockout. Rose, first, what was it like shooting the ocean scene? Because I got tired just watching you do this.
It was, well, I'll set it up in that we shot during the strike, right? And we were waiting for a waiver. And the entire shoot, I mean, I say, hinged on the weather, being able to shoot that sequence in Montauk before it got too cold.
Yes.
So each day we lost waiting. It was like, we don't know if we're gonna be able to do
And we got
this.
the last, one of the last waivers that was given, yeah.
And then there was a great anticipation. We had obviously, water experts. I'm not being completely inarticulate, but it was such a huge visual piece, that was so extraordinary. And there's something about being on a beach at night that is wild, it's like I hadn't done it for many years. It's terrifying. But I'm Australian. I grew up. You learn to walk and swim at the same time. So I have great reverence and respect for the ocean. And I feel like, in a way, my whole life was leading up to that sequence, because I've been caught in rips before. I've had that happen to me by myself in Australia. And anyway, in any case, I approached it with both the creative idea of it and like a deep understanding of like what we were going to be dealing with. We nearly lost the cinematographer, by the way.
He floated out to sea.
Yeah.
And I
Big camera down.
And I watched him tethered to the water expert, then both go out to sea.
Water expert. Water expert.
And I
can't remember what the title of the person is.
But they both went out to sea, and I was like, oh my God, are they gonna come back? And they came back, and then my first thought was, oh my God, I hope that Rose didn't see that, because that was us practicing. And so I ran over to where she was being held, and I was like, and she was, I saw. And I was like, no. But I also have to say that like a week before we shot that, it's just a regular day that we're shooting, and you came to set, and I was like, how was your morning? And you're like, great. I did a few laps in the ocean. I'm like, what are you talking about? Can you not do that?
Of course I did.
Because
you gotta swim.
what would have happened if you went out to sea? Then I would have had you.
But I know not to go out too far.
But anyway, with that, she was in there. This is when you people throw around the word like brave performance or fearless performance. This was truly a fearless performance. Both physically and emotionally, and I think both of those things are happening at the ending of the film, where Rose gets so raw emotionally at the exact same time that she is doing something so physical.
I don't know about you guys, but I think it's such a gift when it is a physical act, because you don't think as much, right? So you're like, your intuition is your drive, and you're not making these self-conscious decisions or getting in. I think that's like so pure, all right? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
the
you know
task
what I
was
feel like I was-
get past those waves, and there was no way it was gonna. The sea was angry.
She was angry.
The sea was angry that night, and it was a gift from the universe because every night before that, I was going out every single night. We would wrap, and I'd go out with my iPhone flashlight, and there'd be no waves. It was so calm, and I would be like, oh my god, like we only can shoot it. There's this one day that we're gonna be able to shoot this thing, and that night, the ocean brought it. And so the direction was, Linda wants to get past those waves, and that with the whole force of her being, and that's what you were doing. And with a task like that, you're right, you lose yourself. She starts making noises, like grunting noises, like it's hard. And I think, and I could see that while I was watching you perform, that it was you were really trying to do the task that Linda was trying to do.
There's just something so powerful about the ocean too, like as an image and a sound and everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's so like raw and powerful.
Yeah.
Sequences on the beach in movies I still remember, the good ones. You know, you're like, oof, that sticks with you.
We're going to wrap it up, so I have one more question for each of you. Can you pick a scene or a moment that when you watch the movie you think, I can't believe we pulled that off? But you can't pick the one we just talked about because that was my pick.
The entire movie really, for me, but more specifically, I think the ceiling crash at the beginning was something that I was anxious about for so many months leading up to it, because I only could do it twice. If that didn't land, if that didn't work, if both of the takes got messed up somehow, what could I do? Because it's the impetus for the whole story starting, and it's such a risk. And so there's no way to rehearse it for doing it the first time. So when we did it the first time, and we had that bedroom set was built on a moat. A moat. That's what it's called. Where water's around it, and there's tubing feeding the water back up around. So that's how we have this sort of biblical flood of water coming down, and it really was the pressure of the water that is breaking the ceiling. And so the first time we did it, you're in the room, and that's Rose's reaction to it happening in this small room. But that was, for me, it was like when it was like we got it and I pulled that off, I was like, oh, I could breathe, you know.
I can't believe we pulled off well, it was hard for me to pull. I hope I pulled it off. It was like being really mean to A$AP Rocky. It was really hard. He's like really charming, and I was like, why am I being so mean to this guy? I was like, go away, don't talk to him. Like, this is really nice. Really nice. And Mary's like, don't be, he's like the one character in this film who's like curious and like kind of nice. And
and Linda tucks him over so royally.
I'm so mean to this guy. He's so